pulled handles, but if you want me to demo the pulled handle,
that's okay. I just have seen pottery TikTok.
Yes, I know, the pottery TikTok loves it. I mean, there's something fascinating about watching somebody just pull and pull. And it's just, people just love the heck out of it. And
But you are a little limited, I think, in the shape of the handle, right?
Yes, yeah, you have.
Take a little texture wheel and run it
There
up
are
it.
so many more choices if you just hand build your handle. I mean, I guess pulling is. I'm gonna have to take I almost never take my rings off, but when I do a coil, they make little marks. So, a wear board is a better idea than a bat because if I just push in the wrong direction or a little slightly differently, then it's gonna get away from me.
Do you have leniency in your piece not being perfectly leather hard when you versus trimming?
Yes, I would.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, no, you're fine. If your piece is a little drier, then just remember to make sure that you use, try and use some slippy water to join them, and then wrap them up really, spray the whole thing down and wrap them up really well and let them sit at least for a day. Because that's going to allow, it's going to allow the moisture level to come to about the same size. The reason the handles pop off is that if you've got a wet handle and a dry mug, they fit perfectly now, but as the handle shrinks, the handle dries, it's going to shrink and it's going to pull away. So, especially if you've got nice tension in that curve. So I'm just going to keep rolling this lovely coil. If you find that your coil gets a little bit out of shape, you can always just pick it up and turn it and make it round again. The secret to making good coils is to roll far enough. So you'll see that I'm rolling from my fingertips to the base of my hands and back. If you're making, also it's probably good to get that off of there because I'm going to poke it right off. If you are just rolling like this, you're only rolling one side. So you're going to get an oval and you're never going to address the top of it. So, and I move my hands back and forth along the coil. That helps give equal pressure along the coil. And keep moving it away from the edge because it's going to start getting marked if it goes over the edge. I do like a slightly thicker handle, which is kind of funny because I often end up putting on really thin handles because I'm demonstrating how to make a coil and I'm like, oh wait, I just made a coil. It's like that thin. That is not what I wanted, but I don't want to go back and make another coil. So I think I'm going to stop right about here and just enjoy that. I have a sharp knife. I like my sharp knife. I'm going to choose I like a tapered handle, so you can see that this carrot is slightly tapered. So I'm just going to go in at one end and make it even more tapered. So just by putting a little extra pressure, move it over there, little extra pressure on that end and lightening up as you come up, it makes it even more tapered. So I'm going to cut myself a little extra. I don't want a giant handle because, that's just a little extra. And this looks like it's going to be the perfect cup to drink my tea out of. And we don't know each other too well yet, but boy, I love tea. I have a couple of cups a day. It makes me happy.
Aww. Okay. Tea is the best.
Tea is lovely. I also like coffee.
It's so funny. I don't know yet what's so good about tea.
A good stiff Irish breakfast tea. It's malty and dark and bitter with some lovely milk in it.
You lost me on bitter.
Maybe that's it.
I'll bring you some masala tea. You'll like that.
Yeah, masala chai is wonderful. Okay, so let me get this out of the way because I'm going to do something a little different. If you like a perfectly round handle, there is nothing wrong with that. I like my handle to be slightly ovaled. If you look at the way your hand is shaped, it's more of an oval. So if you're trying to grab something perfectly round, you're putting more stress on your hand. So for me, I like for my tea to be as stress-free a proposition as possible. And sometimes the shape of the handle is going to be the least stressful part of my day. So I'm just going to give it a whack and give it a whack. The second whack is a little harder than the first because if you kind of get it off slightly, then you're going to have a slightly weird shaped oval. And then I'm going to. There you go, Ruth. There you go.
Triangle handle.
That is kind of how it goes. There you go. So I'm just going to wipe out those sharp change of directions. And now I've got a nice little carrot kind of oval shape. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. And let's see. I'm just going to start. And I'm not going to stay friend. I'm not just going to bend my handle. Because the clay is still pretty tender, and I've taken some moisture out of the surface. So I'm just going to really gently bend it. Absolutely, yes. Do remember that it shrinks, so you don't want a handle so small that you can barely get your fingers in. And you can see that even so, the clay begins to split a little bit. When I'm all done, I'll smooth that out, and it'll be just fine. Don't put water in your handles. When you see them starting to crack like that, super tempting to put water on them. That's just going to make it fall apart.
Wow.
So just smooth it with your fingers.
My handles are going to fall apart because I tried to make them before your instruction and that happened and I added more water.
And if it doesn't fall apart right away, then it probably won't.
Okay.
So you're probably fine.
Good to know.
Okay, so I've done it right. The handle is slightly too large for the cup. So what I'm going to do is, that gives me space to cut it down. Once I've got it shaped pretty much like I want it, I'm going to need to bevel that edge to meet the side of the cup. So if I try to put it on right now, it doesn't want to fit. Those two edges, they just don't go together. So I'm going to put this down. I'm going to shape it as best I can. Put it down really gently because it's going to mark the bottom of the clay because the clay is still really soft. So I'm going to get it in there. I love this knife. It's wonderful. It's a little odd though because I can never really remember which side is the sharp side. Okay, so I'm going to get in here and I'm going to cut it at an angle. And bring that one up and cut it also.
It's like an ear.
Yeah, I kind of like that little ear shape. And I'm going to come up here and reshape the attachments because I've just flattened out one side just a tiny bit. Okay. All right, and then I match it there, fold it up, and see what I've got. That's a little bit heavy for this piece, but I'm just going to go with the fact that it's kind of a chubby cup. And I'm going to go with a slightly chubby handle. So now we get to talk about scratching and attaching. Every time you attach two pieces, you should scratch and attach, unless they're so dead soft that it's just, that you're putting two wet pieces of clay together. That's okay. This being leather hard and this being slightly stiffer because I've already taken some of the moisture out of it. Definitely want to scratch and attach. So it's already started to attach itself, so I'm very gently going to remove it. Before I remove it, I need to know where to scratch and attach. So I'm going to take my knife or my pin tool or some other tool and just mark very gently where I want my little scratches to be. Mark the bottom as well. Come here, friends, don't poke a hole in that. There we go. This is kind of a tender time. I drop them all the time, and then I have to make another handle. There you go. Pull it off, and just set it down on your board in just the way that you want it back on your cup. And then I get out my scratching tool. They make these in I loaned it to somebody, and they really stuck it in there well. They make these with a retractable option. I don't use the retractable ones because the retraction always stops retracting at some point randomly, and then I reach into a bag or reach into my cup for it and stab myself. So I find that just a plain old cork is the best way. Alright, so I'm going to use this and scratch. You can do this with, you don't need a special tool for this, you can do it with your pin tool, but as you can see, this is like having 5 pin tools at once, and it works really fast. So if you have a lot of scratching and attaching to do, this is a time saver. And I'm going to go back and forth, I'm cross hatching to make as much surface area as possible. If I get into the little areas, I can just use the corner there. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so I've torn that up pretty well. Now, among other things, this is, I'm gonna borrow some of your water because I didn't get any of my own this time.
It's ours.
Thank you, my dear. Among other things, this is going to, the crumbs that I've made are gonna combine with the water that I'm gonna add and create a little bit of slip. And the, all of the little scrapes that I've made have given more surface area for these two pieces to cling to each other. So I'm going to get this little guy very gently upend him, do a little reshaping since I've got him right there. Get those edges done. And then trying to stay inside that edge, you can see where the change of direction is. I don't want to scratch through that, so I'm mostly staying in the center and just digging that up. There we go. Yeah. There we go. I'm going to take those little crumbs off and try and put them back on there so they'll make a little more slip. Go. Extra crummy bit. This is why I keep a paintbrush. So, yes, you can just use paint. Alright. I did that in reverse order. Usually one would add the water in the cup first and then pick up the handle so you didn't have to put it back down. I'm just kind of dotting water on there, and that's enough. It doesn't have to be running down the pot. It doesn't have, you don't have to have, you don't have to soak the whole thing. The only spot that you really want to be damp is the spot where you're going to join it. So this looks fine. Put that on there. Put it there. Now to join it, I'm going to press it on and I'm going to wiggle back and forth. And the wiggle seems kind of silly, like why are you wiggling? What's the big deal there? What I'm doing is pressing the air out of all those little scratches and making sure that they fill with that slip that we've just made. There we go. Wiggle, wiggle, and kind of clean up around the edge with my phone. I will go back in later with another tool and clean that up. Okay, I'm going to get the bottom there. I'm going to give it a little wiggle wiggle. Right. And at this point you can go a couple of directions. You can leave it like it is and be able to see the join with the body of the cup, which I really like, so that's what I do. If you would prefer, you can push into the cup and pull the clay into it so that it looks like the so that it looks more like the pot and the cup are made of the same piece. It is harder. There is it takes a little more skill to make that flow, and the best way to do that, I think, is to put an extra coil on it. So if you have the time and the energy, make yourself some tiny coils. Come on, friend. There you go. See if I can do this without knocking my tools off. Add a little extra water. This might be a bit thinner. This is also called backfilling. And I might want my little coil to be a little wetter, so I'm going to add a little water to my hand. Take a small piece and make a very wet coil. So I've got a nice wet coil. It's not as perfectly browned maybe as I would like, so I'm going to mess with it for another minute. But having it nice and wet is what is going to allow it to adhere both to the handle and to the mug. So I'm gonna come from the top and lay that coil in there. Grab a hand off on my apron. Come all the way around that seam. Kind of cover it up there. There we go. And then overlap them and pinch it off. There we go. And from there, you can add a little more water. If you, like I do, if you like the space between the cup and all, you can leave that edge and just seal this into the handle. And it gives you a little more, slightly more sophisticated join there. There you go. And if you really like the more organic joint, then you could just press that in all the way around, and it really does begin to look more like it just grew out the side of it. I kind of like the way it looks like it's sitting on there. So I'm just going to clean that edge up. I do have my little rubber tool here. Just one of these. These are, I think, oil painting tools. I'm not sure what they're for, but they're little rubber tip tools. There are a couple of kits floating around the studio, and just one little wipe, and you can't tell that there was ever a little smush there. That is handling in so many steps.